I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be Nice Guy Finishes Last Again. I've got an email here from a viewer, but before we get into it, I got a great quote that I want to share with you by Charles Darwin. He said, "It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change." And I've got another one. This is from Marcus Luttrell in his book Lone Survivor, and if you have not read it yet or listened to the audio version, you absolutely must stop what you're doing and download it because it is outstanding. If you want to persevere, if you want to get through a difficult obstacle, read this book and be inspired by what this guy went through in order to survive a disaster that befell his Navy SEAL team several years ago. It's just a very harrowing account of a man and his desire to survive. He says, "The real battle is won in the mind. It's won by guys who understand their area of weakness, who sit around and think about it, plotting and planning to improve, attending to the detail. They work on their weaknesses and overcome them because they can." I had one of my clients that I was just talking to is in the process of going for special forces. And so it was pretty exciting talking to him and helping him remove mental blocks and mental barriers, and part of his negative story that he had been telling himself is the reason why he shouldn't try out for special forces and he would never make it. So I'm sure he'll succeed as long as he prepares his body and his mind. He'll be able to get through it. So I've got an email here from a viewer, and he says, "Hey Coach, I'm glad I found your videos on YouTube as you offer some great life-changing advice. My story is complicated and messed up, and I realize that I'm the only one that can fix it. You got to participate in your own rescue, and it's good that you're acknowledging that, because too many people want to blame the boogeyman, or they want to say it's somebody else's fault, or I don't have enough education, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough friends, I don't have enough resources," whatever it happens to be. And those are the excuses and the stories that they tell themselves so they feel good about not taking any action. But at the end of the day, deep down, they still feel like shit because they're not following their heart. They're not becoming the person that they were meant to be. So he says, "I've been dating my girlfriend for almost a year now, and I have a child with my ex-wife, and my girlfriend has 2 children of her own." He says, "Oh yeah, and I'm the nice guy that is always accommodating everyone else." Well, obviously that strategy does not work very well, because you wouldn't be on my website, because typically people don't come to my website because everything is going well. They usually come because something is out of whack or out of balance in their life, whether it's with their exercise routine or the foods that they're eating or their structure or the ways that they're interacting with women that they're trying to pick up, date, or have relationships with, or something's going sideways on their career. But at the end of the day, you're here because you're trying to reach your potential. You're trying to become better than you were. So he says, "My ex-wife tries running my life and uses my child as a pawn during any disagreement, which has been a hindrance on my relationship. And thanks to you, I finally come to the realization that I need to get my balls back before my girlfriend leaves me for good." Exactly. Women want you to be more of a man than they are. And it's definitely not a good situation if your current girlfriend sees your ex-wife just abusing the hell out of you, jerking you around when it comes to your kids, and she just sees you sit there and take it like a little whimpering puppy. If a woman loses respect for you, especially if she sees another woman disrespecting you and you don't stand up for yourself, I mean, deep down they think, God, if this guy won't stand up for himself to his ex-wife when she's savaging him verbally, I mean, God, if I was ever in any real physical danger, would he even stand up for me? And it causes a woman to doubt your masculine core when you do it. It's a bad fucking way to go. So he says, "The first 6 months of our relationship were amazing. However, the last several months have been less than desirable. Intimacy has declined and the sex hasn't happened for several weeks now." Well, that's definitely not a good sign. That tells me that your woman has emotionally, mentally, and physically shut down to you. He says, "I tried talking to her about it, but she just shuts down every time." Well, you got to ask some better quality questions. What should I have said to make her open up and talk? Well, obviously, I encourage you to read my book because I go into extensive detail on how to communicate with a woman effectively, especially someone you're in a relationship with. Because if you just took the time to learn pickup skills and dating skills, but you didn't learn communication skills, there's a pretty good chance that your relationship is going to spiral out of control and you're going to find yourself single again. I also did a video a while back called How to Communicate with Women Effectively. But basically, if your wife is distant, or your girlfriend in this case is distant, and you're sitting down and you're talking to her, the key is to get a woman to open up and to get her to talk. And you do that by asking questions. And you say, what's the matter, baby? She's like, you seem distant. You seem kind of cold. You're not like your normal happy-go-lucky self. What's going on? What's on your mind? Oh, nothing. I'm just fine. I was like, baby, don't sit there and tell me that nothing is wrong, that everything is just fine, because I can look and see in your face, and I can hear in the tone of your voice that everything is anything but fine. I love you. I want to know what's upsetting you so we can get to the bottom of it. So what's going on? And you just got to be persistent about it, because you can tell by looking at her body language and her physiology that she's obviously very pissed off and she's very upset about something. And the only way you're going to do that is by getting her to talk about it, even when she says she doesn't want to, and by being in a playful state. And so when she starts talking, you go, tell me, what else, honey? Tell me more. Don't leave anything out. And you got to get her to talk. You got to get her to open up. And where guys go wrong a lot of times is they try to give advice when what the woman really wants is him just to listen. And so if you're unsure and she's talking about something that she's upset about, or you didn't take out the garbage, or you didn't clean out the garage like you said you're going to, and she's pissed off and she's upset, even though you may have since done those things, but yet she's still mad. What you got to understand is when a woman relates things, or especially like when she talks about the same things over and over again, especially things maybe you did years ago, and you're thinking, why the fuck does she keep throwing the same thing in my face? I cleaned the garage out weeks ago or months ago, or I fixed the damn swing set last year. Why is she still throwing it in my face? Well, the reason women bring up the same things over and over is because it's their way of saying, hey, you basically have hurt me emotionally in the same way when you didn't clean the garage out a year ago or 6 months ago or 2 years ago, whatever it happens to be. And so it's important to do that. Where a lot of guys go wrong is they start trying to argue, and they're like, hey, I did clean the garage out. What are you so pissed about? And they start using logic and reason to justify their actions. And that's the absolute worst thing that you can do, because when you're trying to justify your actions and she's trying to communicate to you how you've hurt her emotionally and relationally, and you're trying to justify why what you did was totally okay, she's going to continue to get more upset and get bitchier and madder to the point where she shuts down and she leaves, or she asks you to leave at that point. And obviously that's not a good way to go. And so instead of taking it personally, you got to sit there and listen to her and get her to talk about it and try to understand where she's coming from and put yourself in her shoes. And by getting her to talk and open up, you say, okay, so what you're basically telling me is you're pissed off at me because I didn't take out the garbage this morning, even though I said I was going to. And the reason you're bringing up the fact that I didn't clean the garage out 2 months ago is because I basically hurt you in the same way. In other words, I let you down. I told you I was going to do something, and I didn't do it, right? Is that what you're telling me? Exactly. I understand, honey. So you were counting on me to be a man of my word and to honor my commitments to you, and I didn't. I let you down, and I'm sorry. That was weak of me. I shouldn't have done that, and it won't happen again. What else, honey? And you just keep getting her to talk. And when she gets to the point where she's done and you've like opened her up, she'll go, oh, I feel so much better. I'm so glad we talked. I love you. And then you kiss and you make up and you have great makeup sex. But until she gets to that point, you haven't opened her up completely. Because until she becomes that sweet, playful, charming, fun-loving woman that she is when she's really happy, you haven't got to the root issue. I'm not going to spend the whole video going over the communication stuff because I cover it extensively in other videos and also my book, but that'll give you an idea. And if you're ever talking to your girl and because remember, women resolve their problems or their issues by talking about them. And so if she's starting to talk, maybe say it's about one of the girls that she works with, and she's upset with one of her coworkers, and you start to feel yourself wanting to give her some advice about that situation, bite your tongue and say this to her. Say, honey, do you want me just to listen, or do you want my advice or my opinion? And she'll go, no, I just want you to listen. Most of the time she'll tell you she just wants you to listen. And so if that's the case, listen. Every so often repeat some of it back to her. Keep asking her questions like, tell me more. Don't leave anything out. What else? Really? So when this, and this happened, it made you feel, okay, great. What else? Tell me more. And you just keep her talking until she sighs and she gets to that point where she's like, oh, I feel so glad we talked. I feel so much better. I love you. And everything's all hunky-dory again. So he says, I try to talk her about it, but she just shuts down every time. And so he says, I allowed my ex-wife to treat me as the doormat up until a week ago. And I know this puts a lot of strain on my relationship with my girlfriend. And I wish I'd found your videos months ago. I also allowed both of our frustrations to build up since neither one of us likes confrontation, nor did we verbally mention displeasure until last week when she told me that she was not happy and she wanted to take a break for a couple of weeks. So you can see what happens when you don't communicate with a woman effectively. Eventually she gets to the point where she's just like, fuck it. He doesn't get it. You're never going to figure it out. Let's just have a breakup and take some time apart from one another. So, and what you should say in those situations is like, no, I don't want to break up. Obviously, if you're upset about something, let's communicate and talk about it like adults, because at the end of the day, the whole purpose of all relationships is we go there to give. I'm here to meet your needs, and you're here to meet my needs. And so let's get to the bottom of it. Why are you upset? What's bothering you? You got to talk to me. I can't read your mind. Baby, I love you. I adore you. But talk to me. What's going on? I want to know. And you get her to open up. You get her to talk about it. You got to keep digging. So he says, besides her displeasure of dealing with my ex-wife, she says that she has been a terrible girlfriend and she's felt distant for some time now and believes it might be too late. Obviously, that's a very real fear that she's expressing. That's how she feels in the moment. That's another thing to remember about women. When they express things like this, that's how they feel that moment. So don't take it personally and don't assume that because everything was great 2 weeks ago that it's great now. The only thing that matters is how she feels in the moment. So he says, she feels like we don't mesh as a family, and she mentioned that I have been wonderful and too good to her, but that's apparently what good guys do, and that I'm currently in this situation. So in other words, you're being too nice, you're letting not only your ex-wife walk all over you, but obviously probably at times you're letting your girlfriend walk all over you and disrespect you. And if a woman sees that you won't stand up for yourself to her, she won't respect you. Because you have no self-respect. And if you have no self-respect and she doesn't respect you, there's no way that a woman who doesn't respect you could love you. Until you start standing up for yourself. Until she sees that if she treats you harshly or she treats you in an unloving way and then you tell her, honey, don't talk to me that way, it's not loving. If you got something you're upset about, just talk to me, tell me. Because if she continues to abuse you, you just say, look, I love you, but you're not going to talk to me this way, so I'm leaving. Call me later when you calm down and when you talk about it like adults. And sometimes you might have to do that with certain women. Obviously, if you're dating a woman and she's a great communicator, you're not going to have those kinds of issues. But more than likely, most of the women, or the women at least that are in your life, probably don't know these things. And so if you're with somebody and they're not willing to learn these skills, somebody's got to do it. It's either going to be you or them. And obviously, you're the one here watching the video. You should be the one that applies it. So he says, we talked and texted a couple times after she said she wanted a break, but in my justification was around Mother's Day. And it's been 3 days since we've had any communication. This is the longest time we've ever gone without talking. In her mind, I have a feeling that things are finished with us. I'm taking your advice and not doing anything, although I really want to call. She unilaterally changed the terms of your relationship. And so the way you leave it, you just say, well, I don't want a break, but I understand you want a few days to think about things. Great, give me a call when you change your mind. I'd love to hear from you. And so when she does reach out to you in the future, hey, babe, great to hear from you. I want to see you when you're free to get together. Make a date. Hang out, have fun, hook up. Obviously, she's going to probably want to talk. So by asking questions and getting her to do 70 to 80% of the talking, you'll get her to open up. Like I said, I go extensively. I devote a couple chapters to this because it's a really critical, important skill that you have to develop if you want to have successful, long-term, effortless relationships. It's in my book and it's also in the video, How to Communicate with Women Effectively. If you'd like to get my help personally, if you're having a situation like this in your own relationship, go to my website, click the products tab, and book a paid phone coaching session. I'll talk to you soon.